there's chaos in the Capitol. Or is there? One of the strangest political controversies of my lifetime blew up this week when, in the wake of an assault on a former Doge employee, best known by the name Big Balls, happened in the nation's capital, well, Donald Trump, not surprisingly, said, "That's it. Enough." Washington, D.C., he said, has been a crime-ridden hellhole for too long, but because he was saying it and actually threatening to do something about it via a federal takeover, well, you'll never guess what happened next. The left decided that they would stake out the opposite position from the president and say, no, D.C. is safe. And hey, even if Washington, D.C. isn't safe, well, the threat of stray bullets and carjacking are all part of the charm of big city living. Yeah, nah. Here's a little bit of the president talking about this.
You know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart, and he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in, because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us.
OMG, cue the lefty meltdown. Trump's going to make the city beautiful again, God forbid. Now, as you will have seen, the media, of course, even in Australia, went into meltdown, and we're going to have more about that in a moment. But not only did the media go crazy, so too did the city's professional government class lose their minds. Because apparently, I don't know, they like being carjacked and beaten up and shot. Here's some of them booing and jeering and hissing at the cops who've been sent in to clean up the mess.
Harass this citizen, he's not a real cop.
And then there was this genius who decided he was going to throw a Subway sandwich at a uniformed FBI agent. I haven't seen a sandwich connected with that level of idiocy since Jussie Smollett. But just for the record, old mate there has been charged with a felony assault, and it turns out also he worked for the Department of Justice, ironically. Was it that the kids say these days, fool around, find out? That's where we are. So, as far as I'm concerned, Trump is absolutely right on this issue. The nation's capital, Washington, D.C., but let's just say any nation's capital, should be safe. It should look good. And Washington, D.C., with its neoclassical architecture designed to remind Americans of their republic's links to ancient Rome and the classical world, well, Washington should be beautiful. It should not be subject to the sort of crime like this carjacking that saw a migrant Uber Eats driver killed when teens tried to steal his car a few years ago, and this was caught on camera. The crime problem in D.C. is so bad that even congressmen have been carjacked. The Secret Service isn't even safe. A couple of years ago, agents assigned to Joe Biden's granddaughter had to open fire when thieves tried to steal one of the cars in their protection detail. But, I mean, look, this is, as it is with so many of these things, should be an easy 80-20 or 90-10 issue that should be simple. But you know what? Because it's not, well, that tells us a lot more about politics in the U.S. more broadly. The controversy over D.C. crime and Trump's trying to clean it up reveals two things. One, the Democrat love of lawlessness and disorder. They love it. For them, high crime is a sign of grittiness and authenticity. And given the fact that 95% of homicide victims in D.C. are black, well, progressive Democrats would much rather protest Trump, it seems. Not to mention the fact that also, let's say it, a criminal underclass has its own uses too. Think back to the mostly peaceful riots of 2020, which were used to put pressure on Trump, and rioters were used as a sort of revolutionary vanguard for the movement. But the other thing this whole controversy reveals is the way Trump can say something quite sensible, such as, Washington, D.C. is dangerous and should be cleaned up, and have it somehow be turned into a controversy. Now, look, I lived in Washington, D.C. on and off for years, and Trump is absolutely right. Even when I lived there, there were far too many no-go zones, far too much random violence for comfort. And you know who else agrees, or should I say used to agree with him? Sleepy Joe Biden, when he was a lot less sleepy. Here he is back in 1992 on the floor of the Senate describing how bad things were.
Driving home, my staff who lives here in the Hill reminded me, don't stop at a stoplight until I'm out of town. If I see a red light late at night, since there's very little traffic, slow up at the other block so I never come to a full stop except in the middle of the block because of carjackings.
And as everyone knows, things have only gotten worse since then. Washington, D.C. has a higher murder rate than just about any world capital you can think of. Baghdad, Lagos, Nigeria, Bogota, Colombia, Havana, Cuba, you name it. In 2023, Mexico issued a travel warning to its citizens about the crime danger in Washington. And despite all sorts of nonsense fact checks, the lived experience, as the saying goes, of people on the ground in Washington is very different. Even the head of the Washington, D.C. Police Union has said that he doubts the official crime stats, suggesting that there may have been official pressure to cook the books to make things look better crime-wise than they really are. But you know who is happy about Trump's federal takeover of D.C. and cleaning up the crime? Ordinary Washington, D.C. residents, not the mostly white professional class that hates Trump, but D.C. residents who just want to get on with their lives. People like this woman.
I don't know if I should be saying this on the internet, but as someone who lives in DC, people in DC do not really care that Trump deployed the National Guard. Most people are quiet or like, or are literally like, thank God. The only people I've seen outraged are people from other states. People in DC, quiet. I worked in a local election a few months ago. Mind you, this is a place that voted 90% for Kamala. And by far, the biggest issue for people was crime. People didn't care about anything else. People were going ham. I went to so many forums and people were like, what are you going to do about these badass kids? Lock them up and throw away the key. My personal favorite was if they want to play with guns so much, send them to Afghanistan.
And these D.C. residents are not buying the spin the crime is down either.
The city keeps saying crime is down, but do you feel safe?
No, I don't think so. Crime is down. Crime is up.
Where? In D.C.? Who told that lie?
And the penny is even dropping over at hard left MSNBC, where Chris Matthews and Mika Brzezinski have finally realized what these 80-20 issues are all about.
And the murder rate, you can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap. Yes, it's a trap. I mean, if it's not a winner politically.
Yes, it's a trap. So why do you guys keep falling for it over and over again? I tell you this right now, the Democrats will not win another major election until they decide they are no longer the party of lawlessness and disorder, and they stop putting criminals over ordinary people.